Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivracharya Astotra Satasri Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Channarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की नवदीप धाम की श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की यमुना माई की श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Okay, good morning everyone and Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class at Sri Radha Gopinath Temple, Sydney, Australia. Welcome to our online viewers from Mayapur TV, ISKCON Sydney, YouTube and Facebook. This morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 29. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato jaya mudire nasta prayashu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nandagopakumaraya govindaya namo namaha. Okay, text 29. Bhagavad chikishitam aham karavanihi atandritaha nehamana praja sargam bodheyam yad anugrahat bhagavad chikshitam aham karavanihi atandritaha nehamana praja sargam bodheyam yad anugrahat bhagavad chikshitam aham karavanihi atandritaha nehamana praja sargam bodheyam yad anugrahat. So the words Bhagavad, by the personality of Godhead. Shikshitam, taught. Aham, myself. Karavani, by acting. He, certainly. Atandritaha, instrumental. Na, never. Iha manaha, although acting. Praja sargam, generation of the living entities. Bodheyam, be conditioned. Yat, as a matter of fact. Anugrahat, by the mercy of. So we've got the translation and the purport here. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Please tell me so that I may be taught in a manner, in the matter. Please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities. So he's saying, please tell me, this is Brahma, please tell me, Lord Brahma, please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities. So the purport, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Brahmaji does not want to become a spectacular dependent on the strength of his personal knowledge and conditioned to material bondage. Everyone should know in clear consciousness that one is, in the execution of all activities, an instrument. So whatever activities you may be doing in service of Lord Krishna, one must always understand that they are an instrument. And this is stressed here by Srila Prabhupada, that everyone should know in clear consciousness that one is, in the execution of all activities, is an instrument. A conditioned soul is instrumental in the hands of external energy, called Gunamayi Maya, or the illusory energy of the Lord. And in the liberated stage, the living entity is instrumental to the will of the personality of Godhead directly. To be instrumental to the direct will of the Lord is the natural constitutional position of the living entity. Whereas to be an instrument in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord is material bondage for the living entity. In that conditioned state, the living entity speculates on the absolute truth and his different activities. But in the unconditioned stage, the living entity directly receives knowledge from the Lord. Directly receives knowledge from the Lord. And such a liberated soul acts flawlessly, without any speculative habit. The Bhagavad Gita 10.10 to 11 confirms emphatically that the pure devotees who are constantly engaged in the loving transcendental service of the Lord are directly advised by the Lord so much so that the devotees unwaveringly makes the progress on the path home back to Godhead. So we're going to go over the chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, 10.10 to 11 this morning, because it's a very, very important shlok in the Bhagavad Gita. It is considered to be the essence. We recite that shlok a lot, and we teach our kids those shloks. So I thought it would be nice to go over that important shlok that we all recite, love to teach our kids, and see what the Bhagavad Gita is telling us, the main essence. So continuing from there, makes progress back to Godhead. Pure devotees of the Lord are therefore not proud of their definite progress, whereas the non-devotee speculator is in the darkness of illusory energy and is very much proud of his misleading knowledge based on speculation without any definite path. Lord Brahma wanted to be saved from that pitfall of pride, although he was posted in the most exalted position within the universe. So here Lord Brahma is particularly careful of cultivating the mode or the mood that he is in without actually falling prey to pride, because pride is often the downfall of the highest of stalwarts, is it called. Pride is something that we need to avoid. So here he is being very careful that he wants like direct guidance from the Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviating. And so he wants to be the instrument. So that's the end of the purport. We'll do a little bit of Mangal Charan. So Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vande Ham Shri Gurum Shri Yutapadakamelam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So as promised, I'll go over those very important shloks in our Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10. They're very considered to be very important. So we'll do a little bit of a Bhagavad Gita combined by Srimad Bhagavatam this morning. If you can just give me a minute, I will look up on my iPad, chapter 10. There, I remember when I was becoming a devotee in the first instance, and I was in New Zealand, and Auckland, New Zealand has got our own Hare Krishna school for little kids, and I remember reciting this along with them. So the kids there are very well, highly trained, and they know their shlokas. It's very impressive. So I'll go on to that first text, chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, text 8. aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So, what does he say in here is Lord Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. He's a source. So, he's saying everything comes from him. He's the original source of all material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Now, this particular shlok is quite close to my heart because when I was becoming a devotee, as you know, like if you had attended, if you had heard of some of my previous classes, I talk about a little bit of the dreams that I was given for realization. And there was one where I had this dream that I was looking into Lord Krishna's mouth. And just like Mother Yashoda, I was looking into his mouth and saw all the universe. So I also, in my dream, actually Krishna was smiling, and when he was smiling, I couldn't see his teeth. All I could see was some blank space. And I was thinking, where are his teeth? I couldn't find his teeth, so I was thinking, let me have a closer look to see where his teeth are. So I had a quick, not a really quick, a very like inspection. I was inspecting inside his mouth to see where his teeth was. And I realized there was a spot there, like a white spot. And I was thinking, there's a planet, actually. It's not a tooth. I said, there's a tooth. Then I said, hey, wait a minute. That's not a tooth, that's a planet. So then I saw a lot of planets. Anyway, and they were all spinning. And they seemed to be suspended in just space. So I asked, when I met my spiritual master, His Holiness Bid Krishna Goswami Maharaj, I was saying, what is the meaning of this particular dream? And then he said, aham sarvasva prabhavo mata sarva pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So he's actually telling me that that's what the dream means. It means that Lord Krishna is a source of all spiritual and material worlds, and everything emanates from him. So he was telling me that I was visualizing this part of the Bhagavad Gita, this particular part. So it's really important. If you really want to know what emanates from Lord Krishna, everything emanates from him. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this particular shlok is very, very cool, actually. It's quite cool. When you actually see what Krishna is all about, he's so great. So anyway, so then the purport says, the translation says, the wise people who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So a learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya, who knows how to apply these teachings, can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this firmly fixed in devotional service of the Supreme Lord, he can never be deviated in the amount of nonsensical commentaries by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma. So Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. He is the source of everything and everyone. So you name it, he's the source of it. He's his origin. So in the Atharva Veda, Gopala Upanishad, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidyati Param Yo Vai Vedamscha Gapyati Sma Krishna. It was Krishna in the beginning. In the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge, who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. So this part of Srimad Bhagavatam is restated in here in the Bhagavad Gita in Srila Prabhupada's purport. Then again in the Narayana Upanishad says Atha Purusho Hey Vai Narayano Kamyata Praja Shreya Jayati. Then the Supreme Personality of Narayan desired to create living entities. The Upanishad continues, Narayanad Brahma Jayate, Narayanad Prajapati Prajayate, Narayanad Indro Jayate, Narayanad Asto Vashvasho Jayante, Narayanad Ekadasha Rudra Jayante, Narayanad Dvadasha Ditayaha. From Narayan. So this is quite interesting. From Narayan, Brahma is born. And then from Narayan, patriarchs are born. And then from Narayan, the Indra is born. And from Narayan, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayan, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayan, the 12 Adityas are born. And this Narayan is an expansion of Krishna. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmano Devaki Putraha. So the son of Devaki, Krishna, is the Supreme Personality. Narayan Upanishad 4. And it says, Eko Vai Narayana Astri Na Brahma, Ne Shano Na Gopi Nagni Samau, Ne Me Dvav Apritvi Na Shatrani Na Suraha. In the beginning, the creation, there was in the beginning of the creation, there was the Supreme Personality Narayan. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no heaven and earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. So basically, in the beginning, there was only Krishna. There was none of the creations. None of this was there. He created it all out of his will and all of his energies, and he's the source of it, everything. And rishis and munis and sages and devotees, we spend our lives trying to know, where the universe came, the original Big Bang, they call it, where it is come from. So the wise people who come to the conclusion, oh, it is Krishna, oh, it is, they read the Bhagavad Gita, they hear from learned sannyasis, they hear from Srila Prabhupada, and they realize, oh, it is Krishna. And once we come to that conclusion that Krishna is the source of everything, once we come to that conclusion that yes, Krishna is God, then we change our thinking. We come onto a platform where we understand that Lord Krishna is God, and then we start to curb our habits, our devotion towards Krishna. And we try our best to serve Krishna because we have come to that realization that Krishna is God. In the beginning, it is quite hard because when we go for preaching and we try to tell those people we were preaching to that Krishna is God, it is very difficult for them to comprehend this. Because once we are born, we come into so many material energy contexts, different kinds of modes of nature, different kinds of people, different kinds of thinking, different religions, all kinds of books. And then there are distractions. You name it, we've got it, because it's Kali Yuga. So then preaching becomes really difficult to convince somebody that it is Lord Krishna who is God. That Lord Krishna is God. So in order to do this preaching, we've got to get guidelines from somebody who's a bona fide representative of Lord Krishna, and that's Srila Prabhupada. In other words, when we want to preach to someone, we have to read from Srila Prabhupada's books. I mean, that's the best way to go. If we are lucky enough to have a spiritual master that gives us guidance, then we can take our instructions from him, or take our siksha from him. Or somebody, if we don't have a spiritual master, we take shelter with a senior devotee who can be our mentor, and learn about Krishna and facilitate this preaching process. Actually, in the last class, I was going over those things, and Srila Prabhupada had said that preaching is his lifeblood. And actually preaching, the results of preaching was keeping him alive while he was in the final stages of leaving his body. So he stressed a lot that all the devotees, whoever has become a devotee, must preach. So preaching is basically, in order to preach, we've got to be able to have the skills, the knowledge, to be able to convince the Lord Krishna is God. And how to do that is, the most famous one is in the Bhagavad Gita, he reveals his Virat Roop. And no one else, no other god has actually revealed the Virat Roop. Even Lord Shiva, who is Shiva Tattva, I mean, there's Vishnu Tattva, there's Jiva Tattva. We are obviously Jiva Tattvas. We are not expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Krishna, who has many expansions, he's Vishnu Tattva. Even Lord Shiva, who's in a category of his own. So he's not Jiva, and he's not Vishnu Tattva. But he's very close to God. I mean, he's almost Shiva Tattva. Even he never admits that he's God. And even he never has shown a Virat Roop. So Virat Roop are all expansions of Lord Krishna that was exposed, that was revealed to Arjun in the Kurukshetra battle. And that is enough. That is one of the strategies I've used to convince someone that, if you compare a certain demigod or any other god to Krishna, then you can understand. And another one was when someone passes away in the Indian culture, in Hindu culture, the final rites are read in the final stages of taking care of a funeral, or when somebody passes away, we read the Bhagavad Gita. We don't read any other Puranas. And the Bhagavad Gita is Vani of Lord Krishna, which purifies the soul, purifies everything basically, just by Lord Krishna's words. So then that proves that, why would we read the Bhagavad Gita in the final stages of anyone's life if he wasn't God? Why would we read the Bhagavad Gita of Lord Krishna? Why don't we read Purana of Lord Shiva or some other, God? Why don't we read Durga, or why don't we read Ganesha or something else? So that also proves that Lord Krishna is supreme, and he's one who has the power to deliver souls, and he has the power to basically take you back all the way to Godhead and give you everlasting happiness. And he has the power to stop the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, in which we are all of us. So it says here, the Supreme Lord, he is the creator of even Lord Brahma. He creates Lord Shiva. So the patriarchs, Lord Shiva and others, are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. So in this particular, this is the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata. Krishna says this. He says the patriarchs Shiva and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. So all of us, we think, we are under such influence of the illusory energy that we forget where we've come from, who is God and who's the boss. So again, it says Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything because everything is born of me. I am the original source of everything. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master with references from Vedic literature engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are fools. So those of us who've been actually trying to preach well, I've come across somebody who tried to challenge me or tried to challenge Krishna. But the thing is that they are fools. The particular situation was in a workplace, and the lady was quite a staunch Christian. I believe she was Catholic. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, she knew I was a Hare Krishna devotee, and she decided one day out of the blue to challenge Krishna. So it's a very interesting story, but anyway, one thing led to another. She was defeated because Krishna's philosophy by far is undefeatable. I mean, he's God. So I didn't really fall into too much of an argument with her, but just a few sentences was enough. It is generally advisable. My spiritual master usually says, don't try to preach. Or even in a in our 10 offenses. We shouldn't be preaching to somebody who's a faithless person in the glories of the holy name. We shouldn't be preaching because it's an offense. However, if somebody does approach you, questions about Krishna, we are obliged to answer. If they try to challenge you, then it's better to remove yourself from there. However, if it takes a couple of sentences to make them understand. Anyway, I did that, and she was not very happy with me at the end of the conversation, which is strange. Because I simply asked her if, this particular, instance is God, then why do you need to, why is there a need to put somebody else down? Just be confident that your God is God. So that, sometimes it happens. So anyway, so here we have these shlokas from all these Upanishads that we can quote, where it proves that Krishna is the sole controller. Anyway, text 9 was, since this purport is quoting these shlokas, so I'm going over them. Text 9, Matchita mat gata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanticha ramanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. I mean, this is the best one. This I find the best way to. A lot of us, we want to know how to remember Krishna all the time. We have problems. We say, "Oh, dear Lord Krishna, let me never forget me. If I got you, let me never forget you. Let me always remember you." And then we come and ask this wonderful, brilliant question: how do we always remember Krishna? We remember Krishna by reading this part of the Bhagavad Gita. It is a really nice one. It just says, "Just converse about me, talk about me." That's all you really need to do. So if you don't have anybody to talk about with Krishna, what you do is you read Krishna's Leela. And this is what actually my spiritual master also recommended, that before sleeping, he reads a Krishna book. He reads the Krishna book. And in the Krishna book, there's all these Leelas and pastimes of Lord Krishna. It enlivens you. It really does. I prefer, everybody has got a certain preference of which Leelas. I prefer not to read the demon part because it's all about fighting and killing and all that. Not that they're not nice; they're all very nice. I generally tend to skip the places where Lord Krishna is killing demons. I just go straight to the place where he's running around and playing his flute and trying to trick people, and he's naughty and stealing butter and dancing with gopis, and is having fights and skirmishes with his gopis. His Radharani is there, and they're beating him up sometimes. He gets beaten, Lord Krishna gets, sticks, and the Radharani and her friends get together and they challenge Krishna. And then sometimes Lord Krishna gets together with his gopas and challenges Radharani and the gopis. And, those are some very nice pastimes, naughty. So, when we read this, when we talk about these things, then we love Krishna more and more. The whole point is the reason why we converse about Krishna is not just to remember him, but actually to nurture and develop our love for him. The more we talk about the little blue boy, the more we love him. Just the other day when I was in my last class, I was preparing for this class, and I was going to tell a story about this gentleman who wanted to steal all the jewels from this little blue boy he had heard. Now, what the context of that shlok was, something about, now I forget what it was. Let me just go back. Oh, I don't have that book. Anyway, the whole story was, wanting material things, desiring. It was about desire, that's correct. My last class was about desires. And the thing is that your desires are material, obviously. This gentleman wanted jewels, so he wanted some jewel material things. And the whole point was that your material desires, we are supposed to be removing them and replacing them with spiritual desires. The more we have the spiritual desires, then the more we'll forget our material desires. The more and more we will advance spiritually and then make our way back to Godhead. So this particular story was to illustrate that point, where this gentleman, when Lord Krishna was around, obviously, that time, and we're talking about Lord Krishna's Leelas. So these men wanted to steal jewels from this little blue boy that he had heard of in Vrindavan. So he made his way there, and one thing led to another, and the whole story was, in the end, he fell in love with this blue boy. Obviously, the little blue boy is Lord Krishna. And he had heard that this little blue boy had millions of jewelries, and all these jewelries were there. And at the end of the whole story was that he didn't want a single one of the jewelry pieces. He didn't want any of the material desires. And he, became a devotee of Lord Krishna. So why I'm talking about this is, he ended up falling in love with Krishna. And you're falling in love with Krishna is, you just love Krishna, and you don't want to hurt him, you don't want to steal from him, you just want to serve him, you just want to please him, you want to make him happy, and doing all those things makes you happy. So this is Krishna's pastimes. In this particular shlok, they derive great satisfaction and bliss from enlightening one another. I derive great bliss and satisfaction just talking about Krishna too, just like everybody else, Another story in my last class that I was going to mention was not only that, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leelas, in Lord Chaitanya, he was also laden with a lot of jewelry, millions of dollars. I mean, he's supposed to be in a garb of a sannyasi, and he's supposed to be wearing saffron and, being simple, no jewelry. So, but he was, Lord Nityananda was, and there were some dacoits, and they wanted to steal from Lord Nityananda, and he was in Nandanacharya's house, and he was doing his Sankirtan as usual in the evening, and they decided to hide in the ditch, and I think something happened in the first night, and something happened in the second night. Like in the second night, they saw these huge guards, that the guards that, guard the pillars, like we've got Jain Vijay here at Radha Gopinath temple. They're guarding the dwar, the gate entry towards Krishna. So these dacoits also saw somebody was guarding Lord Nityananda, but they were 15 feet tall. They were like not ordinary size, huge, guarding Lord Nityananda's door, so they couldn't go. Another one was when another evening they decided they'd hide there, and it was raining pus and blood and all those things. So that was horrible. And another night they were being bitten by all kinds of, insects and snakes and God knows what other creepy things. So they were just basically being harassed so much, and there was Lord Nityananda in his bliss. He was wearing all his jewelries, and he was dancing away, Haribol, Haribol, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. They couldn't get to his jewelry. But what they did was, in the end, those dacoits, dacoits are like robbers, thieves. They decided, okay, let's take shelter with Lord Krishna. They understood that Lord Nityananda, who is the expansion of Lord Balram, who is Lord Balram, the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. They understood who he was and took shelter with him in the end. And they didn't get any jewelries, but they took shelter, so they prayed. So that's what it means that we should do. We should pray for that total surrender. We should, when we were doing parikrama, Govardhan parikrama even Bir Krishna Maharaj, when he took us on the parikrama, he got us to put our heads on, we were actually at Govinda Kund, and there was a tree there, one of the trees, he said, put your forehead there and ask for service. So that's what we really all should be doing, service, serve Lord Krishna, in any way, in any particular small way, service of Lord Krishna. That's really what these dacoits did. They, surrendered, and they got some sort of service. Talk about Krishna Leelas. I mean, there's this beautiful pastimes of Lord Krishna, and it makes you fall in love with him. That's the whole point. And Krishna is only swayed by love, actually. He's not affected by anything else. So if a devotee happens to love Krishna, then he says, okay, you can come back home. So we chant, we eradicate all our anarthas, we nurture our good qualities, but we nurture love. That's what Krishna wants. So how to develop that love for Krishna is you read his pastimes, or you listen about his pastimes to someone who knows his pastimes. I mean, when we went to Radhakund, there is a pilu tree there at Radhakund, and the pilu tree was a witness to all of, in the times of Vrindavan, when Lord Krishna was around with his gopis, he was witness to all the pastimes. So whenever we go to the pilu tree, and the pilu tree is still there, we bow down, because these trees are not ordinary trees, obviously. They are personalities. They are actual persons. They are a soul. So they're silent, they're a tree, but they know everything. They are all transcendental and spiritual. So we go to the pilu tree, and well, it's my desire to go and sit there and chant. Hopefully one day I'll be able to, with all this corona and everything. But this pilu tree knows all the pastimes. That's the whole point. And just imagine if you could talk and tell you all the pastimes of Lord Krishna. That will be so amazing. But our acharyas have done it, and the pilu tree has spoken. And we are reading today the Vidakta Madhva and Gopal Champu. All these things, they come from the source. That's the source of pastimes of Lord Krishna. Okay, so we'll continue from there to the next shloka that was quoted in the purport. Text 10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam ye namam upyanti te. So to those who constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. Yes. To those who continue to serve me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. Now, the pastime that comes to mind all of a sudden out of the blue is actually Shabari. Her spiritual master had told her that, Lord Ram is coming. So you continue to wait for him here. And so she was waiting for Lord Ram in that, in a little hut, and cleaning the pathway every day, sweeping the pathway, picking up fruits, the best of fruits, and she even tasted them to make sure that they were sweet, the best, and waiting for Ram day after day, Lord Ram, day after day after day. Now, she was devoted. She was serving Lord Ram even in his absence, waiting for Lord Ram, and waiting day after day. Now, she didn't know this, that she was serving. She was just simply following the instructions of the spiritual master. So, I cannot stress how important it is. It is absolutely important, critically important, that you have a bona fide spiritual master to guide you and tell you, okay, this is what you need to do in order to achieve Krishna. So Shabari's spiritual master told her, don't worry, he's coming. And Lord Ram didn't come instantly. He came after a while, and she just waited and waited and waited. So there's this patience. So whatever your spiritual master does tell you, he says, chant Hare Krishna, follow the 4 regulative principles, do some devotional service, ask for devotional service. You won't get Krishna instantly, because there's many lifetimes of karma that we have to wipe out, and anarthas. There's a lot of work to be done, but eventually it will happen. So eventually for Shabari, Lord Ram came. Lord Ram came. And so eventually for us too, if we follow Srila Prabhupada, if we follow our spiritual masters, Lord Krishna will come. The way to love Krishna is to listen to his pastimes. All these beautiful, wonderful pastimes. And, his beauty, his qualities. And every morning we listen to the Nectar of Devotion. Right now there's a class going on, and it's got beautiful, wonderful pastimes of Lord Krishna, and all different kinds of rasas, bhavas, his associates, Everything about Krishna that you want to know, it's in the Nectar of Devotion. So that's another book to read if you really want to know. If you don't have the Krishna book and Krishna Lila, then the Nectar of Devotion. So the final one that I will read is text 11. Tesham ivanu kampartham aham jnana jam tamaha nashami atma bhavasto jnana dipena bhasvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in the hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So if you want to know, okay, you have a light bulb tube, the light switches on. If you have this enlightening moment, please know, this is spiritually obviously, please know it's Krishna. Is there with a shining light in your heart and showing you the way. If you are looking for the way, if you're looking for a solution, just open the Bhagavad Gita and turn to a page and read it. Krishna will show you the way, just like a shining torch lamp. If you feel, because there are many devotees who are, or struggling devotees who are trying to reach Krishna, and they say, okay, well, I'm not qualified to reach Krishna directly, and there are many. Obviously, you go through a spiritual master, and they are hesitant to ask Lord Krishna directly. If that's the case, ask Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda is very merciful. Lord Nityananda in the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pastimes, he forgives everyone and anyone. Even those dacoits, Jagai and Madai, and these dacoits who wanted to steal from Lord Nityananda his jewels, he forgave them too. He took them under his shelter. So ask Lord Nityananda for enlightenment and forgiveness, or he is the most merciful. Even more merciful in many ways than Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the most munificent avatar of Lord Krishna, because he's here to spread the holy name of the Lord and to spread love of Lord Krishna. Actually, the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Sankirtan, to spread the holy names, to generate to the entire planet all the living entities, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which will liberate or deliver all the fallen conditioned souls. The Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He was all into Sankirtan and preaching mood. That was his external mood, his desire. Internal one was to make sure that he realizes Krishna Prema through this chanting. Lord Krishna's Prema through this chanting. So basically they're one and the same. Though his basic desire was he already had the love of Krishna, obviously, but just if you want to know his desire for us, through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, we achieve Krishna Prema. We achieve love of Krishna. And the reason we achieve love of Krishna is so that we can go back to Godhead, so that Krishna himself comes to help us, because he understands that you are in love with him, so you desire to be with him. So it's all kind of encompassed. So if you really want, even in any problems, even if you cannot approach Lord Chaitanya directly, you can always go to Lord Nityananda, which is Lord Nityananda Ki Jai. He is the original spiritual master and most merciful. So the whole point of this Srimad Bhagavatam today, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 29, was that Krishna is the controller of everything. Everything emanates from him, and he creates everything. And we are basically his instruments. And we are in a fallen conditioned soul, or fallen condition or in the material and under illusory energy. And in order to get out of here, to resolve all our issues, our problems, whatever we are facing, we need to understand that if this is Lord Krishna is God. Basically, that's what it is. Lord Krishna is God, and we need to take shelter of him through devotional service, through chanting of the Mahamantra, through guidance of the spiritual master, through reading his pastimes, through taking shelter, Acharyas, Lord Nityananda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, in order to get to, or even Srimati Radharani, those Radharani devotees, those who desire to serve Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani she is a personality of the love of Krishna. She is love for Krishna. Every bit of her. And Srila Prabhupada says her main business is to please Lord Krishna. So we can pray to Srimati Radharani also to teach us some of this bhakti, give us some bhakti so that we can be devoted to Lord Krishna. So that actually concludes our class for this morning. We are 5 minutes over time. Srimad Bhagavad Puran ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening.